Hello everyone, this is Tetsuya. Thank you so much for watching my video again today. Today, I'd like to share 8 stories about what I was surprised at when I took the trains in Malaysia and Singapore. Among 8 things, 5 things are about Malaysia, 3 things are about Singapore. Let me get started. So the first story is about a train called KTM in Kuala Lumpur, Malaysia. KTM is a commuter train, and most of the time, it is running on the ground, not underground or not above the ground. In 2007, when I took KTM in Kuala Lumpur, the KTM trains never arrived at the station in time. Literally never. These were the digital display to show the arrival time of the trains. But the display always indicated such as 30 minutes ago, 45 minutes ago, usually, as far as I remember. For example, if the current time is 2 o'clock, the display still shows 15 past 1 or half past 1 because that train has not arrived at the station. But in 2014, when I took KTM again, KTM was extremely improved. And even if there was some delay, it was maximum 5 minutes or so. So the 2 things I was surprised about this is first, the train never arrived in time, but it was extremely well improved. At these 2 points, I was surprised. The second story is again about KTM. It is about cracks. On KTM trains, there are cracks frequent on the train windows. When I visited Malaysia in 2007, there were a lot of cracks. When I visited Malaysia in 2019, there were a lot of new trains, but those new trains' windows also had a lot of cracks. One time in 2019, in KTM train, I saw Japanese tourists. They were 2 girls. One of them said, pointing the window in front of her, "Look, the design of the windows of the train is beautiful." The other girl said, "Yeah, it's nice, but wait, aren't these just broken?" The first girl who pointed noticed the fact and said, "Oh no, that's true. This is not a design. These are the cracks of the windows. What happened with these windows?" This was their conversation. In fact, even now I myself do not know what kind of people break the window. I actually asked more than at least 5 Malaysian friends why and who does this, but none of them know about the reason. And some of them said, "I don't take KTM and have never seen it. It is because all my Malaysian friends drive to go to work and don't take KTM. So even they haven't seen the cracked windows of KTM before." But there is this sign at a lot of KTM stations. This sign shows how commonly this cracked windows problem is happening. The third story is again about KTM. It is about the sign. On KTM trains, there is always this sign. To me, this sign was interesting. But of course, no wonder there is this sign because over 65% of Malaysian population is Muslim people. So this sign is important for their society. But I just mean this was quite interesting to me when I saw it for the first time. Okay, the fourth story is about any train in Kuala Lumpur. So it is about kind Malaysian people. In 2018, when I moved around Kuala Lumpur with old people, I noticed whenever I took trains, young people always gave away seats to these old people next to me. This was extremely impressive. The society is very kind to elderly people. In case of Japan, there are a lot of young to middle-aged office workers who are sleeping, playing games, or using the internet with their smartphone, even on the priority seats. And maybe only 5 to 10% of the people on the priority seats give away their seats to elderly people or those who need the seats. But in Malaysia, amazingly, it happened 100%, even not as a priority seat. The fifth story is again about KTM trains. It is about how to take train. In 2019, I noticed Malaysian people didn't queue for trains. Until trains come, people were seated on the platform. And when a train comes, people suddenly rush into the doors of the trains. So though I have been queuing, no one cares me and passes in front of me and get into the train. I generally really like very hospitable and kind of Malaysian people. But for this phenomenon, I wonder if this is a good thing or not. At least on the platform, I can find a sign to tell the passengers to queue. Okay, from here is a story about the trains of Singapore. So the sixth story is about MRT in Singapore. It is about language. In 2007, I took MRT in Singapore from the famous Changi airport to the city center for the first time. At that time, I noticed there was 4 different language announcements and instructions. When I saw and heard that for the first time, I wondered why it was necessary to add such a number of languages in one place. I saw 2 languages written in the train in Los Angeles before, English and Spanish, and I was already surprised by 2 languages. But Singapore defeated it in twice as many languages as in Los Angeles. So the 7th story is, of course, again about MRT. It is about special seat, priority seat. In 2018, when I took MRT in Singapore, some elder person removed me. Like when I was accidentally seated on the priority seat, the old man didn't say anything but just swung his hand like this to me to remove me. Like, get out of here. What I was surprised was his attitude toward me was very rude. So I was, of course, not deserved to be seated on that seat. Normally, other Singaporean people I have met, and also all of my Singaporean friends are really nice and also very kind and polite. So this person was exception, and that's why it was especially surprising. Of course, exceptional cases are everywhere, also in Japan or anywhere in the world. So the 8th thing is about MRT in Singapore again. So it is about the train route. In 2017, I noticed people were loudly speaking with their smartphone, and no one seems to have been caring that. This is not something surprising, but something interesting, because in Japan, 1, people were quiet in the trains, as you can see in this video.
この先、揺れますので、ご注意ください。
This is generally the same anytime unless, for example, drunk Japanese people in a good mood come into the train and begin to speak loud. And 2, mobile phone conversations are prohibited. I may explain why mobile phone conversations are prohibited in other videos. Anyway, even in a country like Singapore, where there are extremely a lot of regulations, there is a rule Singapore doesn't have and Japan has. Of course, simply speaking, the advantage of mobile phone are that we can speak anywhere. So what's the point of preventing it by regulation? It sounds weird, isn't it? Anyway, what I want to say here is, as Japanese, the fact even Singapore doesn't have the rule Japan has was quite interesting. How did you think about the difference between the trains of Malaysia, Singapore, and Japan? I think there are so many different points, and also I have different conceptions, perspectives as a Japanese. That's why when I take trains in other countries, I can find this kind of interesting differences between Japan and other countries. Anyway, thank you so much for watching my video up and here today. See you in the next video. Bye bye.